Before I get into the main part of the video where I show how everything is set up and working, I wanted to give an overview here on this flowchart that I made to show you the types of things that I'll be covering in the main part of the video. So we're going to look at building a free AI chatbot that uses OpenAI, and it includes the source code, and it will be deployed on Vercel.com on a hobby plan. So as I showed on the flowchart, we'll also use a GitHub account, which is a free account, and it uses GitHub authentication at or during part of the process. And it uses this next.js chatbot template that I will show how to get it from the Vercel website. And you have to have an OpenAI key to plug into the environment variables. And it looks and works very similar to ChatGPT, and it is using OpenAI, like the 3.5 turbo model in the background. There's many other templates for free, and I think it's really high quality code and great starting place. I think there's dozens of different templates, and I'll show that screen briefly. And it's very solid built code, and it's all free. It uses Next.js for authentication, and also it uses something pretty new called the KV database. It's like a key value database, redis, on Vercel, and I talk about that a little bit in the video and show how to get it set up. So that's a free database storage on the hobby plan. And also it uses secure environment variables, and I show a little trick on that. And towards the end of the video, I set up Speed Insights, which is a free part on Vercel. It's pretty nice. It gives you like page scores and things like that. And they explain in the documentation that you can plug in and use other LLMs like LangChain, and I forget what the other ones are, but I show it in the video. And the last part was the analytics. There's a free plan. You have to click through to see. It actually does include some free like credit for that. And I never put in any credit card for this plan. It's all free. All these tools, all the code, the GitHub, everything is free. And when it's all done and running, you get to see the AI chatbot running in a web browser, and I ask it questions, and it's really cool. I think it's great that companies like this are demonstrating the use of their technology, and they say you click one button and you deploy it. Well, that may be true, but like I just showed in my flowchart, there's actually several other steps that you have to go through to get it up and running. There's the summary of what will be covered. I hope you stick around. It's really great to have tools like this, and it's a lot of fun. And in the end, you can have a free artificial intelligence chatbot with source code that you can look at and use and modify however you feel you need to. So thanks for stopping by to check out the video, and let's get started. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're at. Today I'm going to be making a video about a chatbot with source code that's available, and I will be deploying it on Vercel, and I have that pulled up here in my web browser. And so I'll show you where you can get the template and the source code, and we'll go ahead and get it loaded on my machine, and I will also deploy it in this video out to Vercel, all using a free Vercel account. Now I would say if you have more than one Vercel account, it can be a little problematic. When you set up the second account, you have to use like a different phone number and a different email address. At least that's been my experience so far. So you do want to consider that if you just wanted to set up a second account for testing things like this and you didn't want to use your main account. So keep that in mind. So I'll also mention a few things here that I have set up. I went ahead and created a GitHub account just for the purposes of setting up a chatbot like this. So there's nothing in this GitHub repository yet. And then we have a Vercel account that's logged in. And then if you see down here, it says browse templates, jumpstart AI projects, e-commerce, and more. So there's a little button you can click on to get to it. And that takes you to this page right here. So here you can see there's all kinds of different templates, which if you're looking for other types of templates, as they have listed here, starter templates, AI, e-commerce, blog, middleware, edge config, portfolio, software as a service. There's a lot of different like samples here that are really great. I've checked out a few of them, but what we're going to do is click AI and we'll have it filter and show us just those. And the very first one right here, next.js AI Chatbot, I will go ahead and click on that. And so that takes us to this page here. And if you wanted to view the demo, if you get to this page, then you could just click on view demo to see how it works. It works a lot like ChatGPT. And so I would say a few other things you're going to need is like an OpenAI key so that it can work against your account. If you use the demo, you'll be able to try it out, but you would be using their account. And here are the features and a little bit about how to set it up. So it uses Next.js app router, React server components, suspense, and server actions, the Vercel AI SDK for streaming chat UI, support for OpenAI, which is the default, Anthropic, Hugging Face, or custom AI chat models, and or LangChain. But I will be following along with the OpenAI default implementation. Edge runtime ready, and the styling is done with Tailwind. And this Radix UI for headless component primitives, icons from Phosphor icons, chat history, rate limiting, and session storage are done with Vercel KV. And I will go ahead and open that up, and we'll look at that just for a second. Next auth.js for authentication. And if we go a little further here, deploy your own. You can deploy your own version of Next.js AI Chatbot to Vercel with one click. Creating a KV database instance. Follow the steps outlined in the quick start guide provided by Vercel, which we will be doing that so we can see what's involved. I have set this up before and got it running without really any problems, so we're going to be going through that process in this video. This guide will assist you in creating and configuring your KV database instance on Vercel, enabling your application to interact with it, and we're going to need that. If we pop over to this page for a moment, so this is the Vercel storage, serverless storage designed for the web. You have Vercel KV, a durable redis, Vercel Postgres, Vercel Blob, and Edge config. These are fairly new. If you click here and go to the Vercel storage announcement page, you can read more about that. Introducing storage on Vercel. It is a fairly new feature or features here, and you can see it was just done on May 1st of 23. And again, we're going to be looking at this Vercel KV, a serverless Redis storage solution that's easy, durable, and powered by Upstash. And they just kind of show you a little bit about the KV setup. Driven by the need for both performance and personalization, frameworks are becoming server first and edge first. This shift is exemplified by React server components and the introduction of streaming infrastructure into our runtimes. These capabilities make it easier than ever to fetch data from a database or other data sources within the server component itself. As the world moves away from monolithic architectures to composable ones, there's no shortage of options for backends and databases, but for new projects, the choice can still be paralyzing. So much tech out there. In the spirit of being end-to-end solution for building on the web, we are introducing solutions that are open, easy to use, and scale as efficiently as our front ends. And then they go on to talk about Vercel KV, which we will be using for this chatbot. It's a key value store like Redis is one of the most common tools developers reach for when managing things like rate limiting, session management, and or application state. So here they're just talking about Vercel KV, a serverless, Redis compatible, easy to use, and highly durable database. It enables you to create Redis compatible databases that can be written to and read from Vercel's edge network in regions you specify with little configuration needed. So I won't say anything else more about that. You can read this article. Let's go back to this page and we can just scroll down a little bit and see here global data for high performance web apps. It's fully managed by Vercel and or their partners, globally replicated, Redis compatible database optimized for high performance web apps. So we'll be using that in this chatbot. It's built for modern frameworks or modern web frameworks, Next.js. That's what we'll be using again in this code. You can see a little snippet of code there, or in this project, I mean, how to get it imported into your project and then how to call it. It's just a few lines of code. Globally replicated. For the lowest latency reads, replicated databases are distributed around the world and clients are routed to their nearest region. So it's a really interesting technology that they are building here at Vercel. So let's go back to the Vercel page now. And so that's the instructions here talking about the KV database. That's basically what they're talking about there. And I will have to update my environment variables, although I believe it's going to put them in there for us automatically. We'll have to double check that a little bit further into the video when we get to that part, which won't be too long from now. Running locally, so we will do that too, running on this machine. The variables defined in my .env.example to run Next.js AI Chatbot. It's recommended you use Vercel environment variables for this, but a .env file is all that is necessary. Okay, so let's see, what else does it tell us here? Install the Vercel CLI, so we'll go ahead and do that here momentarily. Link the local instance with Vercel and GitHub. It creates a .vercel directory, Vercel link, then download your environment variables, Vercel environment pull. Your app template should now be running on localhost 3000. So we're going to go ahead and do that also as a secondary step. But first, we'll just go ahead and deploy it to the Vercel. Like right here, you can see, you can click on deploy. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and set up the KV database instance. I also wanted to point out the view repo so you can check out the code. I went ahead and opened that up, which is right here. You can see it's had 259 commits 2 weeks ago, and all the different people that are working on it, the contributors. And they go on to explain it a little bit more. There may be a little bit more information here than what we saw on the web page. This template ships with OpenAI GPT 3.5 Turbo as the default, which is what we want because I don't have access to the 4.0 in my account. And you can switch to these other LLM providers, Anthropic, Hugging Face, or using LangChain with just a few lines of code. You can deploy your own version of the Next.js AI Chatbot to Vercel with one click. And then creating a KV database instance. Follow the steps outlined in the quick start guide, which we're going to do that here in a minute, provided by Vercel. This guide will assist us in creating and configuring your KV database instance on Vercel and enabling your application to interact with it. So we'll just go ahead and do the deploy first. We can either click on it from here or we can go back to this other page and click on deploy. So I'll just go ahead and click on deploy from this page. And it says we're almost there. To ensure you can easily update your project after deploying it, a Git repository must be created. Every push to that Git repository will be deployed automatically. And so I can go ahead and do the command here, GitHub. I'll go ahead and click on that. And it's going to go ahead and ask me to install it. And I'll say yes and yes. And click on install. Let me go ahead and get signed in here. All right, let's try and get logged in here. I apparently forgot my password. I'll hit reload. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, so I just went back to this page here, the Vercel page, and clicked on the Git scope, and now it's back to this install Vercel, all repositories. Let's go ahead and try and click install again. All right, so now it got that linked up. Repository name, we'll just go ahead and leave it the same, next.js chat, and create a private Git repository. We'll go ahead and do that. So click create. And let's let that finish. All right, and now it brought us down to the add storage. But let's go back to the GitHub page for a second and hit refresh. And right here we can see the new repository that it created. So we know we have a copy of the code here. Let's go ahead and click the add button to add our KV database, which is required. And we have to click the accept to the terms of agreement. And we'll leave the database name as they suggest, next.js chat KV. We'll leave the primary region as they selected, and I'm not going to go to any advanced options. Let's go ahead and click create. Connect project. Choose which environments of the project to make this store available to. We'll choose all production, preview, and deployment. The environment variables prefix, that's what's in here. Just KV, so we'll go ahead and click connect. And then it tells us a connected project next.js chat, which is the one we just created, to KV. And now it has the provide the values. And here I clicked into the env example for the AI chatbot, and you can see the information as it explains here for what needs to be done. So I'm going to go ahead and get this information. Some of it I won't show on the screen, and then I'll go ahead and put it in and we'll proceed. Something else to point out here, it does say configure project. Please provide these required environment variables. So it's already set them up for us, which is why you can't change them. But over here you can put in your secret value. So I'm going to go about getting this information, as I said, and putting it into these environment variables. And we'll go back and look at that page for a moment from their GitHub repo. And so right here you can see it did add the storage, and it shows that it's connected to our project. So far so good. So let's continue. So back on the GitHub page, you can see here, generate a random secret. They have a URL that you can go to get that. So I'm going to go ahead and get that right now. So the next variable here says create a GitHub OAuth app here using this URL. So I went ahead and opened that up, and I will fill out this information and be right back. So here are the settings. I'm going to go ahead and plug into the GitHub register a new OAuth application. And then I'll click the register application button down at the bottom of the page. So here's what the page looks like. I mask out the client ID and the client secret, and we're going to need those on the other page. And so here is where they're talking about the GitHub ID and the GitHub secret. So here I'm back on the main page. I've plugged in the values that I just showed how I generated, and we're going to get ready to deploy this. All right, so I let it finish and it gets this error. Now I saw this happen before, and I will show you how I got around the problem for now. It's basically related to the free plan on Vercel. The size that it's trying to deploy is 1.32 megabytes, and part of that is because there's a large image that we don't really need to get this deployed. So we're going to have to get rid of that image in the repository and then go ahead and do a redeploy. I also wanted to scroll through the output so you can compare it to yours and see if it looks similar. Just showing the progress, the dependencies, then the dev dependencies, and then doing the next build command. There were some warnings. I'm not going to worry about those at this point. And we get past those. We can see the generation messages there. And then if we scroll down a little bit further, it's mentioning here the created all serverless functions, collected static files, build completed in Vercel output, and then when it tried to deploy is when it got that error. So let's go deal with that. I went back to my main page on the Vercel account, and here you can see the Next.js. It did not do a production deployment because of the error that I showed. And I will go ahead and go into the settings here, and I got to check one other thing for the KV database. Here is the storage for the Next.js chat-kv database that we set up. And you can see here it says it's connected to the Next.js chat for all environments, and it did that during the earlier step. And if you click into that, you can see there is a CLI that's interactive here in the web page, which is nice if you wanted to query and post to your KV database directly by using the CLI tool. You can go ahead and do that. And I clicked on the projects setting right here, and you can see these are all the projects that are connected to this database, and it shows our Next.js chat and the environment variables that are related to it. I also pulled up another page here under the deployment for this project, and you can see the error message that I just showed a minute ago. The edge function is 1.32 megabyte and your plan size is 1 megabyte. And we could click on learn more, and it gives a broken link, which is not very nice. But I'm going to show how I fixed this before. I also wanted to point out something else that you can double check if you're following along here. Before you do anything else, you want to go back to your project settings right here, and then go to the environment variables and scroll down, because as you saw earlier, we only had I believe it was the first 4, and now you can see I didn't add anything. It got added automatically is what I'm trying to say. The KV URL, the KV REST API, and the KV REST API token, and this read-only token. Vercel added all of that for us behind the scenes, although it didn't really say that it was going to do that. It's important to know because this whole application will not work unless it knows how to access the KV database. So I just wanted to make sure that if you're trying this, to have you go back and check your environment variable setting and make sure they're there before we go any further. So I'm back showing the error message. It says the edge function share/ID is basically too big for the free plan. And if we go look at the source code for share/ID, we can see here in this folder share/ID that we have a file called opengraph-image.tsx, and there's this opengraph-image.png. If we click on that, we can see that that's what it looks like, and we can see the size is 424 kilobytes. Now of course we could change the graphic, use a different graphic, whatever, but I want to keep this video as short as possible, so I'm going to deal with the process of loading this image instead of changing it or doing anything else. I'm also going to go ahead and pull down the code here on my machine, so you can come to the GitHub repo where your code's at and click this button to copy it. And I'm going to go ahead and open a command prompt and get this code down so I can show something else a little bit easier in VS Code. So I went ahead and did the git clone in a command window, and I did have to authenticate because it was a private repo. So depending on how you set that up, if you were following along, you may or may not have to go through the authentication process. And so it created a folder called next.js chat. So let's go ahead and go into that. And we'll do a directory to see what our files are. So there's everything that it's created. Now let's go ahead and open up our code editor. So code dot. And I didn't mention it yet, but I'm actually using the Windows Sandbox, which I've talked about in some recent videos. It's really nice. You can just click on it. It spins up a virtual environment. You can do whatever you want with it. And when you're done, whether it's a day or a couple days, as long as you don't shut your machine off, you can keep using it to work on applications and in a clean environment. So there we opened up the code. So being in Windows, I went ahead and hit the Control key and the equal sign to zoom in on the code a little bit. So now we can see it a little bit more closely. And so here is the same file we were looking at up in GitHub, the TSX file, and then the image itself, which, as I said, it's pretty large. So I'm going to go back up to the GitHub repo and just go ahead and get rid of this file right now, the Open Graph TSX file. I'm back up in the repository, have the file selected, Open Graph image TSX, and here click the three dots and click delete file. And then I'll go ahead and commit the changes. Just deleting this file for now. Go ahead and commit it to the main branch and commit changes. And now let's pop back over to our Vercel deployment and watch what it's going to do. Here on this screen in Vercel, we can see it's building it right here. So let's go find the details. And you can see my commit message deleting this file for now, right there. And let's go ahead and open up the build progress. So here we can see at the end the deployment outputs. Deployment completed. We didn't get the error message. Uploading build cache uploaded, and then we can get a deployment summary. You may end up seeing a screen like this that you'll have to click through for authorization. And now that I've done that, here is the working application. Let's go ahead and zoom in on it a little bit. So it did make me authenticate to my GitHub account. And let's go ahead and click on explain technical concepts and then hit enter. And now it's using my OpenAI key to generate this information. So as you can see, we're up and running. I know it was kind of a lot of steps, but it's still pretty easy to get a chatbot up and running with the source code that's available that you can go check out. I think that's really cool, and it's great that Next.js provides quality code like this. And I am going to look into a better way to fix the error messages so that the image can still show up where it needs to. At the bottom of the page here, I wanted to point out the domain names that it assigns, so you can check those out. And also, if you scroll up just a little bit here, you can see the deployment summary, the Next.js version, the Edge middleware. You can expand those and look and see what's in there, the static assets. the functions, and ISR functions. And if we scroll all the way to the top, then you can take a look here and see how it shows the login with GitHub. So it took a snapshot of your application and shows it to you, shows you where the domain names are at here, that it's environment production, status is ready, and you can click a button to visit it or click the three dots. If you wanted to redeploy it, you could do that, copy the URL or view all branch deployments. So there we go. We have a up and running chatbot with all of these deployment details and URLs. It's nice they give free tools. If you click on logs up here in the main menu, you can see a list over the past 30 minutes or filter for informational error or warnings and do searches and filters on other information, again, which is built in, and I'm on the free plan here. And here I'm clicking through a few of the other options up in the main menu bar. Speed insights, get insight into the loading speed, responsiveness, visual stability, and other metrics that contribute to a great end user experience for your site or application. And right here it says monthly fee is free on hobby. Fee per 10,000 data points, free on hobby. So I'm going to go ahead and click enable. And then I'm going to go ahead and click redeploy. So we'll let that finish and I'll be right back. So it just popped up a message and it said it's redeployed. So let's go check some things out here. Here I asked it another question, so we'll have it generate some traffic to the site. Here I'll ask it to describe each of the 10 in more detail. And so here it's generating some information. Here I'm also showing a comparison of the plans, and we can see here web analytics events. I'm going to go ahead and attempt to turn that on this free plan here. And if I scroll up, you can see that says hobby plan. So we're going to go ahead and give that a try also. And I got to that page by going to the web analytics and clicking on this all plans link right here. And I'm back on the web analytics. Keep track of how many visitors come to your project, what pages they view, where they are coming from in real time. Web analytics is privacy friendly and doesn't use cookies or store personal information. So let's go ahead and click next. Hobby plan. There's what we get. 2,500 events per month and 1 month of viewable history with no custom events. Let's go ahead and enable it. And now it wants us to install the Vercel Analytics package, import and initialize the package inside the project, and then deploy your changes. There's actually several steps. I think I'm going to cover that in a next video. It does get a little bit detailed, so we'll go ahead and just pause that part for the moment. On the deployments page, we can see that it did go ahead and redeploy it after the last changes I just showed. I went back to the Speed Insights page, which we enabled just a minute ago. And here we can see the real experience score. The first contentful paint is 1.62 seconds. Cumulative layout shift is 100, or gets a 100. First input delays 3 milliseconds, a 100. And interaction to next paint 72 milliseconds. So I will go ahead and regenerate the home page once and see if we get this time to come down a little bit. I went ahead and hit the refresh a few times on the application here, and now we can see the real experience score is up to 99. First contentful paint came down to 0.65 seconds, which gives it a score of 98. Anything below 0.934 seconds is good. That's when the browser renders the first bit of content from the DOM, providing the first feedback to the user that the page is actually loading. So now this application that we deployed in the video is getting a really good score, and it's really fast. And that's all I'm going to talk about in this video. As I mentioned, I will make another video about the analytics and go through the steps of how to get that deployed in this application. Let's ask it to, can you make a bullet point list and summarize it for me? So here it is, certainly bullet point summary of serverless functions. So that's pretty cool, and we could just go on and on with all of this, asking it questions, but as you can see, it is up and running. If you want to copy the information out, you can click the little copy button. And so there you have a working chatbot using what I would say quality code, and just a few clicks, and it's all done using a free account. So this is really awesome. It's exciting to see more progress in areas like this, and I will be following up with another video in the near future. Thanks for stopping by and checking out the video, and thanks for watching and subscribing. If you like this channel, please like and subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when I post new content.